Good afternoon to everyone present here. I cordially welcome you all to TechBharat 2021, Empowering EduTech and Health Tech. TechBharat is an initiative of Laghu Udyog Bharati, Karnataka and IMS Foundation. TechBharat is envisioned as a platform to support startups and SMEs and be a guiding light to them in navigating their entrepreneurial journey. We are lucky to have found support from the Government of India at every stage, and we thank the ministers, officials and representatives of Department of Education, Department of Health and Family Welfare, Department of Science and Technology, AICTE and CSIR in encouraging us and supporting our vision. We welcome you to the session on digital transformation in education management. It is now the era of 4.0 industrial revolution. We cannot keep education and technology in separation, and it is time to look at creating safe and secure learning platforms for technology-enabled personalized education and embrace them. India is a country of 1.4 billion people, and 1 billion reside in the rural and the Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities. There is a huge divide between the level of education between the urban and rural mass, with much needed lateral shift in mindset, promotion of computer literacy, and adoption of newer teaching techniques for both educators and learners of the rural mass in India. We would be able to close this gap. This effort, I'm sure, will have a huge social impact as well as tremendous business opportunity for the edupreneurs in our country. For this session, we have with us Mr. Praveen Parameshwara, who will be the moderator also. We welcome you, Mr. Praveen. Mr. Praveen Parameshwara is the CEO of Lifeology, a premium edtech company which holds the only Guinness World Record in the arena of assessments and coaching. For nearly a decade, he has been assisting people and organizations to achieve meaningful success through training, coaching, and consultation service. He has an experience and exposure of training people from more than 25 countries. He conducts training programs, management talks to professionals, teachers, and university students in more than 2,000 prestigious platforms. We're excited to have you here, Praveen.
Thank you, Vishnu. Thank you very much.
We also have Professor Unnat Pandit. Professor is at JNU and he is the director at IP, Innovation and Entrepreneurship Department. A visionary professional carrying 20 years of experience in dealing with techno-commercial activities, protecting intellectual property, and entrepreneurial management. It is an honor to have you today here, Professor.
Thank you.
We have Mr. George Paul, who is the CEO at MATE. MATE is the apex body representing India's ICT sector. It is recognized by both the government as well as the industry for its role in the growth and development of the IT hardware industry. We are excited to have you here, Mr. George, and we welcome you.
Thank you. Thank you, Vishnu.
I now request Mr. Praveen to take over the session and moderate. Thank you.
So good day, all. So thank you very much for meeting, all of us on this panel discussion. So TechBharat 2021 over this session is discussing about digital transformation in educational management. So as everybody know, EdTech is one industry, maybe along with agriculture, which is showing a growth amidst of this pandemic. So when all other industries or most of the industries are going down, education technology industry is going up. And after US, so India is becoming the home of maximum number of EdTech companies. And over the last 6 years, around 6 months time, more than 1,000 crores has been invested in various across around 31 deals with various companies in India. So EdTech as an industry is heavily growing across India, and even Indian companies are crossing the borders to move outside. We all know that, as the person who introduced Mr. Vishnu mentioned about Industry 4.0. So because of the impact of Industry 4.0, it has been predicted that more than 50% of the jobs as of today will not even be existing by 2030. It's not a long future, but in a near future. So in 10 years' time, the students who are in schools we have to prepare them to get into careers which are not even heard today. So even in the early days, even when the careers are very clear in front of us, we found it very tough to prepare our children to get into the careers and do perform exceptionally well there. But now The career field is becoming more volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. Not only career, the day-to-day life require a lot of life skills in place so than what we used to have before. So in terms of life skills, in terms of career oriented skills, in terms of planning and orientation, in terms of the entire approach to knowledge and approach to learning, so we have to see a lot of development in less time. See, a lot of development is fine, but when it has to happen in less time, so the preparation from our side should be exceptionally high. So during this time, so the most important thing happening in the domain of learning is digital transformation. So this panel would be discussing about that digital transformation, which is happening during the post-pandemic era. So, and along with the digital 4.0, when the massive changes are happening. Here, the most important point we all have to keep in mind is when we are changing a system, it is easy to stop the system, change it, alter it, and switch it on again. But here the system is on the go. The system is on its move. The system is with an extra pace. And when the system is moving with extra pace, we have to fit in the changes into the same. So that add the responsibility mode, of course, the toughness and challenges as well. So how the most important questions we have to discuss are, so number one, of course, the larger level of digital transformation going on. One. Second, the institutional approaches to be there to accommodate the digital transformation and to make sure that it is meeting its proper goals. And also, I think what I would advocate, I would say the panelists, it would be great if you can touch up something regarding the mindset alignment and the mindset changes required from educators, teachers, researchers, students, and parents to get themselves aligned and oriented towards the digital transformation happen in the present days. So you don't need to limit and restrict your views and perceptions to these points, but you can move to any areas to come up with your points, which comes under this topic. So let's start the discussion. So we have three eminent panelists here to talk to us. We have Dr. Mr. George Paul, CEO Mate. George Paul, CEO at Mate, business leader with over 30 years of experience in industry sectors of IT design and manufacturing services and aerospace. Extensive experience in the functional domains of integrated marketing, customer service delivery, product engineering, and R&D, mechatronics, and aerospace. So a phenomenal personality with a lot of knowledge in management, training, education, and the entire industrial development. Mr. George Paul will be talking to us. One. Second panelist, we have Dr. Unat Pandit. So a visionary professional carrying 20 years of experience in dealing with techno-commercial activities, protecting intellectual property, innovation, incubation and entrepreneurship management. Served in various fields of development, starting from research and academics, pharmaceutical linked to IP, innovation, skill, and entrepreneurship. So at a time when entrepreneurship, innovation, and skill development are becoming key. So Dr. Unat Pandit, who is currently with JNU, would be the right person to talk to us about the topic. So we will be having Dr. Sujit Tiwari very soon on the panel, the founder director of Cognifront. Dr. Sujit Tiwari, founder director Cognifront, earned his master's in science and computer engineering from BITS Pilani. Bachelor's of Engineering, Computer Science and Engineering from Pune University, both with top distinctions. He's a straight merit rank holder in HSC and SSC. Sujit also has gold medals in mathematics at national and state levels. He has won several Best Paper awards for his technical publications. Sujit worked at Oracle Corporation, where he delivered Oracle CAD View 3D product from Oracle. Sujit has led the development of more than 12 products in Cognizance. So Sujit, who come up with a lot of IT and industrial experience, will be joining the panel very soon. So let's open the discussion. The topic, digital transformation and education management. Mr. George Paul, would be great. You can just share your views, perceptions, and opinions by taking next 5 to 6 minutes time. So yeah, over to you, sir.
Thank you, Praveen. Thank you for that flattering introduction. I hope I live up to that. So yeah, it's a privilege, and I want to thank TechBharat for inviting and having me on this panel today. I would like to touch upon, the use of digital technology in education, a perspective, a vernacular perspective on that. Now, the use of digital technology in education is a natural progress. It will happen because it generates new economic models that are more efficient, be it quality, be it the reach, be it the cost, or bridging the gaps that are there today. So that will happen. But one of the aspects that we need to keep in mind is digital technology today is heavily English biased. And what does that mean for Bharat? I just want to paint a perspective. Now, as per the 2011 census in India, out of our 1.3 billion people who read and write and work in English, and say that this has gone up to 20% today out of the 1.4 billion, so maybe about 200 plus million people. Now, what this implies is that 80% of Indians are going to be language outcasts in the technology world. And as economy, meaning economic activity, goes digital, 80% of India will get marginalized. So are we creating digital poverty in our country if we continue in the current trend or trajectory? I just want to leave a perspective that, yes, we have a lot of vernacular consumption of information on digital technology, but consumption is not a value creation activity. It is like spending. And economic value addition requires productivity to happen in the vernacular language. So digital vernacular consumption, which is part of the chain, is there. But what we need to see is for Bharat to empower its people to enable them to do value creation in the vernacular language. And if I may call it, vernacular digital productive activity has to be enabled. And for this, unlike a mobile, we need the PC and the software tools on the PC, which are critical. These are some perspectives that I just wanted to share. Another collateral damage, if we do not address this, is we will have Bharat moving away from its mother tongue. So my future lies in understanding English. The younger generation is going to slowly move away from the vernacular language of studying and working. And eventually it will decay. We'll see a decay in the vernacular language, and eventually it's death or just as an academic pursuit in the university. That is something that we definitely, do not want to see. And the third collateral damage is that we are already seeing it, the creation of the language middleman. So if you go to the non-metro, non-English speaking Indians, I would go to somebody who knows English, who can get online. I give him information, he sort of translates it for me, and that's how it is happening. So we are creating this language middleman, which is a further cost on the whole system, is causing further dissymmetry in the access to information and economic activity. So we should discuss how to bring about creation and use of vernacular digital technology in education, and how do we make this happen? I believe that we are at a tipping point. 10 years back, the technology was too nascent, but today I believe technology is reaching a stage where we are close to a tipping point, and we should discuss a perspective on this, and I would very much appreciate to hear from you, Praveen, and you, Dr.
Thank you very much, sir. Before we move forward to Dr. Runit Pandit, just a quick question to you, sir, just to get an explanation as well. It's like, so currently the digital domain, specifically in education, is having a lot of English content, as you rightly said. And we, of course, need the vernacular content. But what would be the core key, the major reason for this proliferation of English content than the vernacular content?
So that, Praveen, essentially comes from the fact that the technology and the tools that have been developed are primarily in English.
Yeah.
Whereas if we look at the languages in the world, there is a vast majority of languages that use the Roman script: German, French, Russian. So there, the adaptation to those language is much simpler. I know with your experience, you understand this better than me. Vis-a-vis languages, Asian languages like our regional languages, Chinese, Japanese, where the fonts are different, the phonetics are different. So there is an added challenge when we have to, enable digital technology in the vernacular language. But having said, there has been a lot of progress, but there is a lot more that we have to do as a nation so that we do justice to our citizens and to our country, because we cannot wait for 1.4 billion Indians to learn English and become productive on the digital ecosystem. I mean, that would be suicide for us. So we should actually bridge this gap that is there.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Dr. Lunat Pandit, so over to you. We are just waiting to listen the words of wisdom.
Yeah, I'm equally in sync with the thoughts which Mr. George Paul has shared here. So, here I think we need to have a whole world jump in the edtech sector. See, even by 2021-22, the edtech sector in India is going to approach maybe by value $2.98 billion, and whereas similar edtech sector in China, who is mainly delivering the content in their vernacular language and their according to their local need, is going to approach $88 billion. So this is how the gap, which is going to be fulfilled by the Indian players, and that is a huge scope. And I should say that COVID-19 has given the blessing to the edtech sector, because people were not aware about online connectivity, education technology in the education sector, which now within the 6 months, entire academic institutions and the higher education institutions, school education institutions were exploring the digital connectivity, and the awareness, the kind of awareness which this lockdown has given, it's a kind of a never before. And it is going to drastically boost the BharatNet initiative by the government of India, wherein government is planning to spend 6,000 crore for the digital connectivity reaching to the each gram panchayat, and that is going to be a revolutionary in India, and that is going to give India a whole world jump into the digital stride. And the digital transformation which we really want to foresee, the BharatNet connectivity, and India preparing for the education sector and education management through digital drive, is going to foresee a big jump in the education sector, which I am quite promising that in next 3 to 5 years we will all be witnessing, because everybody has realized the importance of a digital connectivity, and it is going to be part of our education system. And I have met few startups. They are offering such a unique innovative solution, wherein it's a I think I can say that it's a language barrier is eliminated. So their entire platform is coded on an English language, but it is equally competitive with any language. And that solution, sitting in India, sitting in a small, say as a tier 2 city, they have offered to entire management of a French West African country. And this is the new India. This is the transformative India. Entire country's education system is being managed by one small startup entity sitting in a small town of India, when they can do in an entire edtech management administration is being run in the French language. So coded in a English, utilized in a French language, which is a French West African country. So this is the power of digital transformation, which nowhere in India I can see this, and this is going to be future. It is, they are also exploring that in each language, like Tamil people, why they need to learn the English for managing the education administration. They can very much manage in the Tamil language. And that's the similar thing with the Kerala, Assam, Bengali, Marathi, Gujarati, Punjabi. Why can't they manage this? And this is going to be the future. Secondly, on the content aspect, the rich content which Bharatiya Sanskriti is offering for the learning and for better understanding of the basic fundamental principles, new education policy offers this opportunity to have a synergy with the digital transformation. So I think all the plugins are enabled at a right time, and it's important for the enablement of the industry, the startups, and the innovators to offer such innovative solution and ensure that you are offering the solution which is required by the end user. And this is a serious problem also in the edtech sector. People develop something and they want to try and sell the things which they have developed. This scenario needs a drastic change in the standing position. You should change your standing position and you should see what is required by the end user. If my village level school needs the tutorial for Sanskrit and better understanding in Panini Vyakaran, then they need to deliver the content for better understanding of a Sanskrit language and Panini Vyakaran in the Sanskrit on a digital platform. Are we prepared to do it so? If yes, then there is a huge opportunity. The gap from 2.99 billion to 88 billion, which is in existence, how we can change this. And Indian talent, Indian startup, Indian innovators have this powerful transformation capabilities. Infrastructure, each digital mile connectivity at each village, government is enabling. What best we need, and that is going to get happen by 2023. Then connectivity is there. Without platform, it's not fair. So it's a high time for youth, the startups, the MSME who are into the tech sector. They need to gear up, prepare the content, and offer the solutions which is required by the end user.
So thank you very much for your initial address, sir. So as you rightly said, we are at the right time because early the education technology industry was facing three major challenges. One, the mindset alignment of people were not there. So people didn't believe that through technology we can get ourselves educated. So second, the schools were having a lot of resistance in front. So they were not ready to take the technology into their system. And third, the infrastructure was not there in the right place across the country. But today, I think either we covered or we overcome all these three, or we are on the way to overcome all the three. So we are absolutely at the right point to pitch the growth or to bridge the gap between the 2.87 billion to the 80 billion plus. So, but Dr. Unit Pandit, so I have a question which I take from Mr. George Paul's initial introduction about vernacular, because this is a very, very key point to address. Because only if the technology is accommodating the vernacular languages, this will get democratized, and even the person in the remote villages to get benefit from technology. But do you think that so the business models and the larger interest is not in line many times? Because in China, if we develop a software in Mandarin, it can be taken across the country. So the course we invest to develop the content can be easily recovered because one single effort can be taken across the country. If we develop something in German, it can be taken across Germany. But if we want to develop something in a vernacular language accessible for people in India, We have to develop it in Hindi, in Marathi, in Kannada, in Telugu, in Malayalam, so in Tamil, so that many times. So do you think that the vernacular has a heavy barricade or a barrier of the cost benefit? So what do you think on that?
See, what I believe that we should not be developing any platform which is customized to that particular language only. Now it's a high time that we think out of box. Certain platform which is developed in one particular language, that's what is offered by that startup, irrespective of any language. Even their platform somebody want to utilize in a Urdu, which has a typical reverse kind of a typographical and written scripts. So it has that customization, and that customization is required in the development. And certain basic platform need to be developed, wherein using this platform, any such application, if they would like to translate into the multiple vernacular language, then there is a synergy in the operations, and that's the coding, that's the technological challenge which our developer need to address, rather than going for a one particular solution in one particular language. It's not going to be a viable one. So from business viability perspective also, that we think then we need a solution which has this kind of a customization, this kind of a business viability, and that is important and which is required to be addressed.
Okay.
Now on the language, the example which you have given, we need a variety of solution in edtech sector, like a learning management system, classroom engagement, study tools, language learning. We have a different languages, and four core languages are being mandated in the national education policy also. So in initial phase we need that kind of, and quality learning and teachers training is also important,
Okay.
and that can be achieved if we have such e-learning resources offered through the edtech platforms.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Mr. George Paul, sir, you can surely comment on, Dr. Unnat Pandit's views and perspectives if there are points to be commented from your side. But I have a question to you on top of that. It is so currently we have the lot of private companies which are even becoming unicorns from India, so who are into the edtech sector, a lot of private companies. Second, we have a very strong network of schools across the country, both the government as well as in the private sector. Third, we have training institutes like Technical Training Institute, Skill Development Institute, Language Training Institute. So currently, are we having right alignment and synchronization between these three set of institutions? Or do we need to do anything on the go to create proper synchrony or to orchestrate all these into the right path to serve the nation in a better way?
Thank you, Praveen. So, Praveen, each of these companies, they play a particular role in the complete value chain. So, if we take one of any of these unicorns who have come up, they have reached where they reach, where they are, because they are bringing a value proposition that is seen by the investors in the market. To expect them to solve the entire puzzle for us would be a disservice, and it would not be. But having said that, uh, the forces that be who have the ability to make this change should make it happen, because we have just seen the consequences of in society creating uh, digital poverty of language outcasts. Now, this why am I a little optimistic saying that we are possibly at the tipping point? Today, the most prevalent operating systems on the technology is primarily Microsoft or Android or iOS. And these operating systems today, and in particular, I have worked extensively on Microsoft. are today in a stage which is vernacular enabled. Now, if we have to do enable our citizens to do value creation, be productive. Like I said, we will have to enable it on PCs. And today, if we take the productivity tools of MS Office, it is a pressure on it to work on them in English and in the vernacular language. So that is already in place. We are already seeing vernacular. We have today vernacular domain names. So you don't have to write anymore www.mate.com. My mother could, who knows little English, could write in Malayalam, but I must have a vernacular domain name. Now, of course, you have the challenge, got 28 languages, so we have 28 domain names. So there is some work to be done. We have got vernacular email IDs. This is a reality today. And today we have got vernacular IO devices. Now, these are all in fairly advanced stages. It involves working with these technology companies, but there is a last mile that needs to be done. And this is an investment that has to be done for our country, because no other country would be concerned about reaching out to our 1 billion population who are not in the English net today. So, the thought process that I want to place on the table is we as a nation should draw out a roadmap and with milestones and bring in public investment in some of these key technologies that need to be built, including the regulations and standards. Then we will be on our journey, as Dr. Pandit said, in 4 to 5 years' time, we will be able to bridge and bring all our citizens on.
Absolutely. So that's where my question was also into. Dr. Vinod Pandit, it was like, so there should be a proper policy, proper milestones, and proper planning in place to keep the orchestra on, to play between the private players, the government investment, the public investment, the connection between the current schools as well as the new generation technologies. So what is your vision regarding a proper connection between all these stakeholders and make sure that there is a synchrony in place to take the country forward than sporadic activities of different companies come and getting business benefited? So in addition to that, to get nation benefited, so what sort of intervention is required and policy is required?
See, India has already made the digital intervention, and it has disrupted the entire digital revolution. The per call charges, we are lowest in entire world. The 1 GB data usage,
Yeah.
the charges which other, even the 5G or even advanced service provider, which is there in either Singapore or US, UK, or any advanced economy, and the 1 GB data usage charges in India, if we compare, we have optimized to such a huge level, wherein 1 GB data is available maybe at a 10 to 15 rupees or even less. If we calculate in terms of a monthly payment, then it's even less. And that's the kind of a disruption which digital revolution has offered to each Indian.
Wonderful.
Now the usage, even if we calculate that in around 2014, there were out of 100, maybe 5.6 people were using the smartphone connectivity in 2014. Now that has reached to more than 38 or 40. This is the impact. Now data consumption also, if we see, it is again data consumption is going high. Now where this data consumption is going, it's going on the social media, then need to have the habit of managing the digital time effectively, and that cultural revolution will now happen in India. So Currently everybody has got the digital connectivity, social media on their end, so everybody is fascinated with this. Now slowly and steadily people are get rid of this 24 by 7 digital connectivity on social media. So they have kept themselves away from the social media, maybe a 1 hour each day. But remaining time, though they are connected, they will utilize the digital time, digital data effectively in a way that they are, that is adding positively to their productivity,
That's
and that cultural transformation will also get evolved soon in next few years.
sure. So we have discussed three core points till now. So Mr. George Paul, Dr. Unnat Pandit. So first one, we discussed about the cultural change, the transformation which is happening in the country, which is on the right direction. Second, that direction should be added and added with more value with the vernacular content in a better way. And number three, so we have proper interventions. We already have proper interventions, but we have one more step ahead to create a proper synchrony between the changes happening in the education system and take it to the root level, to the villages. So one more step we have to go forward is like the kind of technology interventions we have. If we take edtech, so it can be like, the companies and administration, ERP kind of companies. Second, the content generation companies for schools. Third, it can be skill development programs. Four, certification programs. Five, the edtech can also have the professional development programs and more. So what sort of, in your opinion, which area require more attention at this point of time, and which areas are saturated, or regarding these different areas in edtech? So what's your opinion regarding each area, Mr. George Paul?
Okay. Now, when we talk of education, we have got education, we have got skilling. Education is more of K-12, and skilling comes after that. Now, what is the magic of technology, digital technology? It's essentially the ability to automate tasks, which brings the various benefits that it, the benefits that come out of that. But in an education scenario, if we were to have a very sanitized, cookie cut kind of content that is being given to children, you can imagine it will kill all curiosity and the fun in learning. So a lot of it comes from the teacher customizing the delivery and the lesson plan to her or his students. So if we look at the kind of tools that are available today, there are very few tools that, and I think even in English, not only in vernacular, but even in English, there are very few tools that allow me as a teacher to do my lesson planning and content preparation, which integrates digitized content with what I want to put across to the children today in a manner in which I want to put across to them. So, I mean, I need to be an expert on PPT, on Word, on Adobe, on those video editing tools. So there has to be a way by which it makes it simpler for a teacher to prepare her lesson content and lesson plan. And this tool, I think, is very important if we have to maintain, get that magic of teaching using digital in our schools. So this is a perspective that I would like to leave behind.
I would like to foresee wherein we need the digital intervention in the education and its management, and especially in view of the national education policy, which has the schooling divided into 5-3-3-4. So, according to this new system, wherein the pre-primary and primary, secondary, higher secondary, the four layers which has been created, for each layer, we need the learning management system, we need the content creation, we need to create the course material, and even the test preparation. So now this revolution has also offered the digital test, which is to be conducted. So how we can have the seamless online test creation and such solution which is required to be offered. And even for early childhood education, which is either nursery, senior KG, junior KG, class 1, class 2. So how they can also be engaged so that they are not getting addicted with the digital connectivity, but this is more along with the fun. This is a learning opportunity which is offered. So we need the digital content as well as variety of a development which is in sync with the local need. And that's what I think this is a big gap in entire tech sector and which is required to be fulfilled by the startups or the technology developers.
Perfect. So I mean, a question to both of you, just another point to give your, I mean, take your attention towards. It's like, so many times we say the digital, when learning is getting migrated to digital, that would be helping people who are more motivated to learn. It's like, because on the digital, the content is there, the quality is there, it is accessible. But to do the learning proper, the learner should be highly motivated, keep the spirit on, and take the responsibility and ownership of his or her learning or development. But so will that aspect create a problem? Because we could see that even at schools, many students are not self-motivated to learn, and they are not used to learn by taking ownership of learning. So how the system will be bridging between the gap? I mean, between these. I mean, managing this gap. So, Mr. George Paul.
Praveen, as educationists, we have a responsibility to ensure that our younger generation gets the necessary uh, trainings that are required. The natural human tendency is to do what is of interest to me or what gives me what I like. But in education, unfortunately, we don't have that luxury. You have to teach the 3 R's. We have to teach, maths. We have to give them exposure to different areas so that they're in a position to take a proper decision at the later stage in their education. So this requires that this requires that we bring in this new incentivization that digital can bring in, the gamification of learning. But it has. So there are experts on teaching pedagogy who can do, but this is one angle that will have to come in. But I firmly believe that as far as K-12 education is concerned, we cannot replace the teacher today. And you're very right in what you said. Today, if you have a motivated child and you give them a curriculum, he can actually do all his studies online. There is enough of content which is there. Blog content, Khan Academy, you name it, it's there, and you can actually study and you can even go well beyond the school curriculum. But we know that it does not happen in reality. All the more when we go to the non-urban India, where we have to face with the reality that I am integrated with my local ecosystem, where I have to, do the domestic tasks which are there. The moment I live in a town or in a village, I can't escape that. So yes, gamification, then allowing teachers building tools. As Dr. Pandit said, let's have some companies that will build these tools. Maybe they take IP from the Microsofts and the Adobes, and I keep forgetting the names of these companies that do the digital painting and all that. And let's build a customized toolkit for a teacher to. That's my view.
That's great. Dr. Pandit, your view on the same topic, but I will just add one more point, because when I observe the digital transformation and the e-learning activities, the biggest worry which I personally have or keep closer to my heart is this. It's like, when the resources are becoming widely available digitally, and access to teachers, mentors, and coaches are there for students. So the very curious, innate capacity for learning and want to learn more kids. So we'll get all these privileges, access to technology, access to system, and they get cushioned with all these facilities. But the people who are by the, I mean, maybe because of the power of the ecosystem or influence of ecosystem, who are not so tuned to learn, so will be taking a back step or will be moving a bit back. So what sort of a mindset alignment is required there? And because, even if we see the MOOCs courses in in Udemy, I would say in edX or Coursera, even the top professionals who are joining the session are not completing the programs. So the completion percentage is extremely low in terms when we compare with the joining rate. So because the motivation to learn will get, if there is no extra push, it may not be that high with people. So what sort of a mindset alignment is required, both in the metros, the cities, as well as in the rural India, to get ourselves adapted with the digital revolution happening in education?
See, earlier there used to be the time wherein when the digital news came on television, people were saying that entire newspaper will get eliminated. It has never happened. Why? Because the content, people are smart. People watch the content on a TV news and people read the content on the newspaper also. So the most important thing is the which type of content is being offered in the textbook as well as on the over the online education. And secondly, how students and the learners are engaged with the education tutorials in a digital mode. That's most important, because if you are just reading what is given in the textbook, then the student can also read, and that's what in initial phase is going to get happen, because over a period this entire pedagogy will get evolved. And that's why most important thing is that we need to plan the teachers training program keeping in view the futuristic need for the digital transformation. So now it's an important role for the state governments to design the teachers training program, keeping in view the future need for the digital transformation. When this is going to get happen at a village level school, how they are going to impart the classroom teaching, keeping in view all the digital aid available to the student. And that's what is required to design around now by the state government, because education is primarily, the school education is the state subject. So each
Yeah.
state government need to have this kind of a transformative curriculum designed for the teachers training, and that is going to help us to further achieve the success in the digital transformation in education.
Okay. So, Mr. George Paul, sir, how do you see this? Because, like, all comes to a point whereas we have to believe and we have to understand and accept the teacher is going to be the playmaker. The teacher have all the resources around, all the materials around, and the kids in front. So they have to elevate their level from a teacher to a guru who is taking children from darkness to light. So, how equipped our teachers are now, number one. So, how well crafted our existing teacher training policies are across India. So, and number three, so what sort of changes and updation is required in the system? I mean, to develop teachers.
Again, a very valid point, and I was going through the content that Lifeology first, and it is a very suitable tool, keeping the current constraints that are there, and also keeping the pace at which learning is becoming faster. So, I'm taken back to the days where when we did schooling, we didn't have vectors as part of maths, but today vectors is part of maths. We did vectors in engineering. And rightfully so. That's the way it is going to go. And, that's where, where a thematic based, card based education guides and enriches learning for them. Now, coming to this specific issue, I believe, see, there are certain fundamentals. For example, standards are a precursor for innovation. Now, here is a challenge and a pregnant question that is hanging in the air as to how will we make it happen. When we know the challenge that is there in front of us, we should set up as standards, and once the standard is out there, then multiple companies can develop tools towards that. And so today, if we take the standards hierarchy in our country, we got the BIS, which is the statutory body for publishing standards. There are two more, but they are specialized in telecom and some areas. As far as in context of today's discussion, it is BIS. But BIS is a standards publishing body. They are not the education experts, So the government, for example, should then identify institutes of learning and say, this institute, say Banaras Hindu University for Hindi, say Anna University for Tamil. They will be the nodal universities for their respective vernacular languages, and there has to be a feeding in of the input, and then the next tier will come companies and industries like us and other colleges who will feed inputs. And once the standard is out there, then we go about developing this. Like I said, there is a crying need for having this tool for teachers to do their lesson planning and content creation. And I just put myself in the shoes of a teacher which says, tomorrow I have to go and take class in physics, and I got this great digital content, but the only thing I can do is just play it out. That's it. I'm not able to value add. I'm not able to bring in a change in it. Now, how do you make content where the teacher is able to engineer the change? So maybe there are tools which can do that. So this is what I meant by saying these should be standard. So anybody who makes this content will have these built in. The tool links into this, and I can put in experiments or questions or pause and things like that. So I believe that's the key. Coming to your second question in terms of teachers, yes. So there has to be a mindset change. Children will always be smarter than us. All right, we have to accept. I, as a teacher, if I stand in front of a classroom and I'm going to feel defensive because the children know more, maybe they don't understand the full depth of it, then I am going to ensure that digital doesn't come into my classroom. Whereas I have to be given the confidence that I can stand in front of the class and I am supposed to know so much, and I am not supposed to know the rest of the world. And this is an equation that has to be socialized so that the children also understand. Because children by nature like to make fun or like to put the other person down. That's their nature. So they need to understand this paradigm that yes, there is tons and tons of knowledge out there in the internet, and my teacher is not expected to know that. So these are such. So today the teachers pull back from using computers. They want to go back to that traditional chalk and board method where they got control over the class. They don't want to encourage too many questions from coming in. So this is on the cultural front. But first thing we have to make teachers. So every teacher in the country should be given a computer. I mean, I am taken back to the early days of India's computerization, and Rajiv Gandhi gave the direction that we must computerize e-governance. And he went to Dr. Sheshagiri, who was the Director General of NIC, and he said, I want to begin at the top. Every district collector should have a computer. So they bought computers, they supplied it to all the district collectors. And I remember I was in HCL. We went right from Leh to Andaman Nicobar to all the districts of India installing these computers. And I remember very interesting anecdote, you would land up over there to install the computer, and the first thing they will ask you is, where is my AC? Because those days ACs were mandatory for computers, and government offices didn't have ACs. So, but what I was saying is, what I was coming to is that country went through uh, uh, tiers of computerization. So we had the round one, we had the round two, we had the round three, and then today look at where we are on e-governance. So we have to do the same thing for teachers. If you believe that I give a computer to a teacher and tomorrow we are there, no, we will have to go through those cycles, and but we have to walk that path, because if we don't walk that path, we're going to have a stillborn situation.
Sure. Sure. An extended question to your daughter, Unat Pandit. It's like, sir, if we take the case of teachers, so the current day is in fact making it out, the scenario is very demanding in a way that the teacher should be a playmaker who is evoking curiosity, interest, so and also enthusiasm in the mind of children. And also they have to evoke the interest towards learning inside children. So this becomes the role of the teachers, and they have to play the orchestra. So this is the current role. But how we are recruiting teachers to our system? We are still recruiting teachers through a written examination and a one-on-one interview for 5 minutes to the maximum. So do we have to change the system of recruitment? Do we have to change the benchmarks? Do we have to change I would say, the quality standards for teachers? So what is your perspective about that?
So mainly in a phase-wise manner, I would like to respond. So teachers needs to orchestrate the entire education which he is trying to impart involving the digital intervention. Now, that doesn't mean that teacher should also operate the computer, teacher should also conduct the test online, teacher should also create the content digitally. No. I firmly believe that teacher should have a multiple hand, wherein in each hand we need to equip the digital solutions in their hand, so that teacher can very well connect all these digital tools while imparting the education online or through digital intervention. And that kind of a mindset change is required. Now, for such kind of a recruitment of a teacher, we need to have a robust teachers training at their graduation level, post graduation level. And that's where I have in my previous response also, it's a role of a state government which is important. The state government, like in age of doing business, each state now is competing. Niti Aayog is announcing the ranking, which state is going up, which state is going down. Same way on a school education also, they have started reviewing, and they have offered the school education ranking system into the among the states. So soon it is going to get happen that which state is imparting the school education with the digital intervention, and how much is the quality content optimization and the quality which is being offered to the students. So all these parameters are gradually going to get evolved, and gradually the recruitment, the quality in education and their performance, everything is going to get monitored soon, and states are going to get ranked also in that manner. So every state needs to get geared up for imparting the best of the class digital education, classroom education with digital intervention also. That's
Absolutely.
the future.
Great. So, George Paul, sir, a question to you. It's like, so we talk about the change required in the policy segment, the change required with the companies, the interventions needed from them, also the change required with teachers, so also students. So one more major important stakeholder remain in education, parents. So when the technology is taking a big leap in India and education is getting totally embedded with technology, So what sort of an orientation is required for parents in India, and how well they have to be aligned to the system of changes happening around? Because so a year back, the parents were scolding children for taking a mobile. But today, the parents are scolding children if they're not taking a mobile phone at the right time. So what sort of a mindset alignment is required with parents, and what sort of an intervention is needed? Over to you, sir.
In society today, we are at a point where, there is a generation shift that is happening. And many of us of the older generation have acknowledged that our children understand this technology better. So in many homes, when the question of a technology purchase comes, we actually leave it to the children. We have the budget, but we leave it to the children what best can come in there. And this pandemic, as Dr. Pandit mentioned, he pointed out that it has actually opened our eyes to the fact that there is so much of benefit that it can be done what we thought could not be done. Parents accept that. What is the worry of parents? Well, this internet, the PC or a mobile is a gateway to the internet, which then opens up to a very uncontrolled world, if we were to put the physical parlance over there. So assurances on that front that when I leave my child alone with a PC, because as a parent, I have no way of knowing what he is doing. And if I come to the PC, he can hide his tracks so much more better than what I can ever understand. So that is one area of concern that will have to be addressed. Second is we have to bring in digital safeguards has to be brought. I mean, the children have to be taught, parents have to be taught. Like when we tell our children today, when you go out, don't accept and eat anything from strangers, walk on the side of the road. I mean, all of us have been told that. So same way, there are digital do's and don'ts that we have to follow. And many of the pitfalls, particularly when we listen to, many of the police officers, etc., is a lot of psychological cornering of children, etc., happen. So the best way to what psychologists say is that you must communicate. Don't keep it to yourself. So you have to sort of, in a way, be a parent who is strict with the child, but at another level, you have to make the child treat you like a friend. So these are all cultural changes that need to happen in society, which we can do through media. I'm sure if somebody were to bring out courses which will educate parents on some of these aspects, at least the mothers who sit at home, many of them educated, maybe more educated than us, will definitely want to understand and get familiar as to what are some of the do's, don'ts. And the other thing is the peer pressure that is coming because of the non-access of a digital device. All of a sudden, till March 23rd, it didn't matter. We had our life even if we didn't have the digital device. I mean, as children, we coped. We had our ways, we had a code. Now, post March 23rd, now PC is a must. I mean, Dr. Pandit pointed that out. And now the question is going to come, who has got what? Who's got a better camera? Who's got a better screen? Children have got their dynamics, and that is putting pressure. Now, that needs to be addressed. So some of the schemes that the government brought out, a number of governments brought out in terms of giving devices to children, I think the government needs to fast track that, because today we have to do it. And it should be computers, not mobiles, because a mobile is a consumption device, whereas a child needs a productive device which he or she can engage.
Yeah.
And along with that, I will bring in this vernacular angle. Let's mandate bilingual keyboards. So in Maharashtra, English and Marathi. In Tamil Nadu, English and Tamil. In Bengal, English and Bengal. So these are some steps the government should do. I mean, we have come across so many children who say, I want this. They are under mental pressure because their friends have got it. They haven't got it. They know, I mean, children are intelligent. They know that their parents cannot afford it. We are fortunate. We are from the middle class, upper middle class strata, but there are so many who are not there. And today, we are forcing them to come onto the digital media because there is no other avenue open. So it is a major issue. I think we need to address. Praveen.
Absolutely. So, Dr. Pandit, sir, the same question to you also, your comments on the same angle, the orientation record for parents.
See, from parents' perspective, they also need to understand that this is a need of a time and the future. So they need to make sure that how much time their child is engaged on digital content or on any online media. So that kind of a control is required to be done. And secondly, they need to make sure that from, say, as a computer to the mobile to the TV to again the computer. So that's all together the digital intervention. So they need to keep the balance. Child should also go for playing on ground and do some physical activity. Secondly, from the school angle, they also need to make sure that they are fully keeping the parents equipped with the written assignments which they are giving. See,
Correct.
merely creating a WhatsApp group or any other platform, the group of parents is not going to solve this. Nobody has a time to read 200 messages, wherein in a 50 or 40 students class, on a one topic, classroom teacher is sending a message and they are responding like flooding with the message. Parents are not going to see all this. So customization and improvement in the systems and operations are also required. And that's again, wherever there is a problem, there is an opportunity also for the digital intervention and bringing the system in place. And these are the initial phase. Everywhere in initial transformation, the initial teething problem are going to get happen.
Sure.
Parents need to understand how to keep a balance between the digital intervention and the formal education. Secondly, parents need to understand what is the need of the time. And
Sure.
of course, the government is also offering the digital device, but even on a subsidized rate or even on a zero interest payment,
Sure.
the digital equipments are available. So this is something which
Absolutely.
is essentially going to have a need, and they need to ensure that how to use this kind of a device. This is a habit which they have to teach. Like students are not learning how to ride on a bicycle, but gradually they learn with somebody's help. Same way on a digital content and in a digital education system, everybody will learn, everybody will get used with this. Sooner the better. And keep yourself
Sure.
open with the new learning. That's the way we foresee it. It's the transformation. We have to be in sync with the transformation. Otherwise, we would be out of the entire revolution, which India is going
Correct.
to see in next few
Correct.
years.
Thank you very much, sir. I think we have closed an hour of our discussion, and being as a moderator, it's a learning experience for me, and I'm very sure the audience will also share the same perspective. So we discussed about the education technology industry is on a boom in India. It's becoming one of the strongest, deeply rooted, and quickly and widely growing industry in India. And after US, Indian edtech industry is going to be the largest one, and in future maybe the largest. So we have discussed a couple of points like number one, so the industry is reaching a tipping point. Number two, we have to have an intervention, whereas vernacular content is becoming very important, which will democratize the entire education system. And number three, we have a cultural and mindset alignment. So from the entire stakeholders to make sure the process is going on the right direction. Number four, a proper policy structure should be there with the proper benchmarks and with proper mandates so that the state governments and the rest of the people can follow the same and make sure that things are on the right direction. And number 5, another important point is like the teachers have a great role to play the orchestra. So they have to empower themselves in a better manner. They have to transform themselves and make sure they are using the technology and human resource in the equal balance to make sure the children are getting benefited. And number 6, but not last, it is very important for the parents to get updated about the system. And there should be EdTech systems which are supporting parents as well, so that we will keep the integral role of parents intact in the system of education and growth of the child. So these are some of the major important points come up on this discussion. So before we take the questions, George Paul sir, Pandit sir, if you have any concluding notes from your side or any more points to add on, which you believe that it will add value to the audience, so please feel free by taking a minute or two. George Paul sir.
Thank you, Praveen. Thank you for moderating this and having such a wide spectrum of discussion that we have had. And it's just I want to leave behind at one point, which is that we have to enable vernacular technology in education. Otherwise, we are going to leave behind 80% of India behind, creating digitally led poverty and language sort of outcasts, and that is something that. Good thing is we have got brilliant entrepreneurs here. We lead with standards, and India will be well on its way of bridging this gap and also creating for the world.
Thank you. Dr. Pandit sir.
Yeah,
So
with the digital transformation which is happening in India, now in sync with this particular revolution, teachers training, content creation, and adaptability of a new applications, and keeping ourselves in sync with open and to this kind of a new revolution which is happening is most going to be the useful one and important. And secondly, the content creation also need the standards. So I am in sync with Mr. George Paul that standard setting is important, and the revolution and the need is going to get arise in soon, in a very near future, so that this is also equally important. We need to have the development in sync with the local need and local adaptability is the key message in my concluding remark.
Okay, so now the session is open for questions. Let's see the questions. I will pick up the questions, which is getting into the personal messages as well, and will be sharing to you, message in the sense to the personal mailbox, and will be sharing to you. I think, sir, George Paul, sir, we have a question. I think I will take the question to you directly. And the question is like, so currently, in terms of the educational intervention from the government, so how do you see the proactiveness from the state governments in India to accommodate technology in their entire education? Whereas most, I think the question is on consideration that, majority of students in a state are studying in state-owned schools. So the question is mostly like, what is the level of interaction, proactiveness from the government, if you assess the state governments in terms of accommodating technology today?
Well, if we take the last, 10 to 12 years, the education sector is one of the sectors that has done a lot of work, be it beginning with the Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, or from the central government. We have the Prime Minister who has set a goal that through BharatNet, I will connect every village. So these are, empowering steps that have been taken. But having said that, as each state, education is a state subject, but technology is horizontal. So technology and standards are horizontal, which should be empowered centrally. And then the states, of course, will work with the ecosystem of society to encourage that. The second thing is we are not a surplus country like the West. We are cash strapped. But at the same time, if we do not invest in our children, we are going to pay a price tomorrow. So definitely there is a need for central government funded infrastructure building in terms of taking computers to teachers and children to be done. I mean, this is an expenditure which we will have to do. It's a worthwhile investment. If I go to the state level, many of the states, to our knowledge, are struggling. I mean, they're struggling with paying salaries, taking care of the basic infrastructure building which is there. So I would say that the central government should fund this. Because of COVID, every child should be given a computer. We should make that happen. Good success stories under the school computerizations. The government of Kerala, the government of Punjab, the government of Gujarat, they computerize tribal schools. They computerize the schools in the urban and semi-urban areas. I'll give you an example of school computerization in Gujarat, the benefits that came out of it. So the computerization was done. They brought in digital attendance. So what happened was every day morning at 8 o'clock when the school started, they had information as to how many children were there, how many teachers were there. Government switched to salary payment of teachers based on the attendance over here. So the attendance of teachers. Second, this information of number of children who have come to the school was given to the person who provided the midday lunch scheme. So the wastage of food reduced because they knew that today there are 150 students, not 180 students. So they could prepare food accordingly and bring to it. So the stories, children were introduced like I spoke of the collector story. The first wave of making children familiar with computers has come. But now we should come to the second phase, which is actually empowering by giving each of them a computer.
Sure. Thank you. Pandit sir, a question to you. So who will be the main driver for implementing this digital transformation in education? It's a question from our audience.
It's important that the developer understand the local need and the nerve. What is exactly is going to be required by the end user, and the content and the developmental work is happening in sync with that, and that is the most important. If user is not satisfied with the development or with the offering, then entire digital transformation which we would like to foresee is going to get affected. Like currently also we have so many digital learning applications available, but they don't have a customer satisfaction with respect to each one of them. And the best of the user application or the solution or a digital learning platforms who are offering the content, they have a serious slippages in understanding the customer's need, or a end user who is a child or the parent, they are not able to satisfy them. And that's the most important thing. Customer relationship management is also going to get happen here, and that's the thing which is completely getting eliminated in this revolution. So user feedback, and then keeping the development with respect to the local need is the most important aspect, which is to be kept in mind while developing. And
Okay. So,
Praveen, if I may add,
yeah, yes, sir.
So you asked who all can play. I would like to, give a perspective. As an industry body, we are on the board, and we have constituted the Electronic Skill Development Council, ESSCI, under the National Skill Development Program. Now, here we have got recognized courses, and certificates are given, which the user can then go and seek employment. These are vocational courses that are there, and particularly in the area of electronic skill development. Till March 23rd, it was all classroom delivery. Post-COVID, we are stuck with so much of course content that we have to now take it digital. Of course, the most obvious simple thing is to put it onto a PPT and out it goes. But I'm sure with EdTech, there are so many innovative ways by which we can convert this content into creative creative ways of delivery. And remember, at the end of this course, you are actually getting it's like me getting a 10th pass certificate. I get a certificate saying that I'm qualified to carry out this activity, or I'm qualified to be a technician on the shop floor. So I would, invite edtech companies who have expertise in this area, who can work with the SSCI in converting this to a digital medium of, education and certification. And there is a crying need for us to do this because of this COVID pandemic.
Fantastic. I think some of the companies will surely pick it up and reach out to you. So we have one more question. It's like, so what step can be taken to make sure teachers adapt to this change comfortably from both the government as well as institutions? So George sir, your perspective on this, and I will come to Unit sir also. We discussed this point, but I think again a question on the same line. What step can be taken to make sure teachers adapt to this change comfortably? George Paul sir.
I would say it is something like learning swimming. You can't learn swimming by reading textbook. I mean, reading the theory. So we have to provide the teachers with the swimming pool, with the life jackets, and push them into the swimming pool. So what we'll have to do is in all these schools, or maybe in regional training centers, get the teachers involved and equip them with the tools. Like I said, till we bridge that gap which is there on how can I customize my class using the digital tools that are available, I will be a reluctant player to use digital tools in my class. If I'm a good teacher, I will hate to go and just play it like a movie and come out. That's not the way I would like to teach. Okay. So, but that's what we need to do. We have to handle them, force handle them, take them through this process.
Fine. Yeah.
Develop those tools. Develop those teacher productivity tools. I think we need to develop an India teacher productivity tool, program.
Yeah. Pandit sir, any perspective to add on?
Yeah, any such transformation won't happen like putting up a switch and it is going to enlighten everybody. It's never going to happen. So slowly, steadily, we need to have a stable phases. We need to part phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and then overall improvement will happen. And for that, we need the structured plan. How we are going to have the implementation in a particular school at a village level or a tier 1, tier 2 or a metro city level, and even in the on a higher education also, how we are going to adapt this entire digital revolution in a research or in academic activity, in any kind of a transformational work which is required to be done. An important element which is still missing is the public policy research and the advocacy, which is required in this digital transformation in education management. And like TechBharat, who is organizing this particular event, it should ultimately result into the several such topics which invites the public policy research and the advocacy. And that's the most important element which is missing, and it is required to be added.
Sure. Thank you. I think we have covered almost many of the points which are coming under digital transformation in education management. So for the last 90 minutes, we had mind-blowing discussion, and it was great listening to both Mr. George Paul as well as Dr. Runat Pandit on the topic of digital transformation in education management. So I'm very glad that TechBharat 2021 is hosting discussion on such a very important, timely, and I would say, a well-timed topic. So I'm very sure the people who listen to this discussion got well benefited, and they will surely reach out to the panelists if they have more questions through your social media handles or your mail IDs. So thank you very much, Mr. George Paul, to be a part of the panel. Thank you very much, Dr. Runat Pandit, to be a part of the panel. And I'm very glad and proud to moderate this panel. Thank you very much. We are taking enough.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Praveen. Thank you.
Pleasure, sir.